Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day out there on YouTube. Head out there and smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Joining me tonight for a very special episode, a man that most football fans will recognise, but certainly if you're an FA Cup fan and a football fan, you'll definitely recognise this man. The one, the only Mr. Wayne Shaw. How are we, Wayne?
Hi, good night. You all right, mate?
Yeah, really good. Thanks for taking the time to come on. It's kind of a crazy story, really, isn't it? But we're not going to give the main event away that easy. We're gonna go back through and talk about the roots of football and the pathway and that great FA Cup run with Sutton and all that kind of stuff before we get to the pie that people called that wasn't actually a pie. As far as I know, it was a pasty. It wasn't a pie at all, but they call it a pie. Let's begin then. Let's go back. Southampton. Joined the Southampton Academy.
Yeah, I was in the youth. I played 3 games in the youth team. Schoolboy at Southampton and before the old academy and all that. Great times, and still play for ex Saints now. So that's the boys get together and it's great to catch them. We play about 8 games a year, raise money for charity, and it's brilliant, mate. To be there.
Awesome. So what was it like there as starting out as a schoolboy or whatever it was in the academy with sharing that fabulous place, the Dell, no less, with the likes of Matt Letizia and Alan Shearer and all these guys.
Yeah, all the boys, Cookie. There was honestly Tommy Wids. There was so many lads, you know what I mean. It was unreal. The Wallace brothers and Greg Llewellyn's, and we still get together now, like I say, and we got a group chat. But yeah, fantastic. And you got the younger boys now, James Beattie and Brian Howard and all the lads that are involved. Joe Tessum. It's one of them family clubs but the lads stick together. Klaus Lundgren. You got all the boys on there, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great when they get together. Like we've done a little bit of work with some of the Legends series over here in Ireland. We've had Man United legends over and Liverpool legends, and when they get together, between the competitiveness is still there. You can feel it on the pitch, and most of these guys, they haven't lost their touch at all. But they love getting together and having a few beers and having the crack, and the banter and the slagging and everything is off the scale, isn't it? It's just another level, really.
That's what it's all about. I've done a bit with Keith Gillespie, mate, as well. So Keith's quality fella.
Yeah, absolutely. Keith was over, actually. He was playing the last time. We had a Man United Legends team was over doing a fundraiser against Maynooth Town there about a couple of weeks ago for they're trying to put an Astro pitch in. And right. Keith was playing. He was playing also. Yeah, they haven't lost a beat. And the slagging is crazy. It's unbelievable. The move to Reading. How did the move to Reading come about?
Well, to be fair, the schoolboy Saints, and obviously they took about 10 or 8 YTS lads on at the time, and I was that little bit in between. I was playing centre half, centre forward, and to be fair, like they come to me and said, like you're always going to be too heavy to play what we believe is top grade football. So I went to Reading and had a 3 days at Reading, and they wanted to take me on YTS, and I was like all happy for it. So yeah, that's where it ended up with me. And I played centre half, right back, up front at Reading.
Yeah. So then the move came around to Basingstoke and then loaned out to Bashley. And this is where Wayne Shaw transitions from centre half to goalkeeper. Tell me about how that all came about on the transition.
Well, to be fair, we played we're like Southampton schoolboys, so obviously you play for the city, and we always order along as like 14s and 15s, and they turned around and said, like, to be fair, you've played in goal, you can do a bit, and instead of carrying 2 goalkeepers, we'll just keep you, and if anything goes wrong, we can move you from centre forward back into goal. And yeah, and that's where it all kicked off for me. And Shane Wheeler, a good buddy of mine, and he was an apprentice at Saints as a goalkeeper. He was the Southampton schoolboys' first team goalkeeper as such, and he had an asthma attack, and I played in goal on a Saturday against Vela Whitehorse, and we won 2-0. And I didn't believe it. Probably 6 years later, 5 years later, the manager at Bash at the time, the late Trevor Parker, said, "I've seen you playing goal. go and get yourself a pair of gloves. You'll be playing Saturday. This is on a Tuesday night. So, yeah, and we won 1-0 on the Saturday against Salisbury away, and that was it. That was me stuck in goal.
Yeah, my younger son, my older son, he's a goalkeeper as well. And it's so strange because when we grow up as kids, everyone wants to score goals or else be a great defender, but no one really puts their hand up to be a goalkeeper. It's always that position that everyone avoids. Nah, I don't want to get in nets, and everyone has to take turns and stuff like that. Is it true what they say? Because you've done goalkeeping coaching as well. That goalkeepers are a different brand of human being. They're on a different level and a different wavelength. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, to be fair, mate, like you say, it's one. There's 10 other outfield players and probably, like I say, 7 on the bench now. So it's like literally you are that one person. A centre forward's got number 9 on his back. He misses 8 chances, scores 1 goal. The goalkeeper's got number 1 on his back. He either saves it or it's a goal. So yeah, you come across it, and like I say, it's different levels now.
Yeah. I have to bring up the move to Eastleigh. And we have to talk about a certain penalty that was saved, that was pivotal in their history. Let our viewers know about this penalty save and how instrumental it was to Eastleigh as a club.
To be fair, mate, I don't think it really was the penalty save. It was literally I made a mistake. We were, I think we were 1-0 down, and we got it back to 1-1. I made a mistake for the goal, and literally their centre forward, like top man, and he's like overhead kick, and I've managed to pluck it out the top corner. And then we went on to win 2-1. So really, that was the pivotal thing, and that put Eastleigh in the conference south. But they've never been able to, managers and things come and go, and they're in the conference now, or the Vanarama National, and Lee Bradbury, a good friend of mine as well. He's manager there now, and hopefully he can take it to the next level. But they've always just been there and thereabouts. But yeah, Stuart Donald come in. I think he went to Sunderland or been at Sunderland and bits and bobs and spent a few quid. But like anything, mate, you can't buy team spirit, and I think it's all about team spirit and that gets you through. But it's a different thing now, that it's athletes. The boys don't go and have a couple of beers and a game of pool and a game of darts, and they drink their green pastures after a game, and they have
Yeah.
food together, and then what I mean. Whereas we go and have a few beers and a game of pool.
Mm. What's your feeling about football? I suppose if we take a break from the history, what's your feeling about football at the moment, where it was and how you experienced it to where it is now? It kind of sometimes when you look at it, it feels like a different sport nearly at this stage, doesn't it? It's so different in so many respects, but yet still so very much the same.
I spoke to someone the other day, and I think to be fair, you can earn a good amount of money, but you've got to be dedicated. You've got to eat the right food. You've got to drink the right drink. But to be fair, if someone says to you, in 10 years you're going to earn £5 million, a lot of them earn that in a year, but how many millions you need to survive? So really, looking at it the other day, and like I say, it's you know you, you're 51 weeks of the year or 50 weeks of the year where you can't do nothing, and you got to be squeaky clean.
Yeah, yeah, it's a serious commitment, all right, but the payoff is absolutely massive.
Oh,
Uh,
definitely, mate.
Paul was your manager at Eastleigh, wasn't he? And then
Yeah, the Dozinator, as they call him. Yeah,
yeah,
Dozzy, good lad. Yeah, I've done 30 years as a friend, Doz.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but
and then he moved there. He moved down to Sutton, and he brought you with him, didn't he? To Sutton.
yeah, I'll stay with Bairdy. Obviously, Bairdy was I'm a Southampton boy. Dozzy had these aspirations and knew what he wanted and what he wanted from a football club. He built EC to the level they were at. He went to Sutton, and no disrespect to Sutton at the time, they couldn't afford socks. People were darning socks and doing bits and bobs, and he went there and he took them to probably, no disrespect to where they are now. Matt Gray's the manager there now. Matty, great lad. There's still people behind the scenes, Cat, Bobby, and all that. So yeah, and Jason Goodlift, and like I say, they're all people that's involved with the club, which what Dos built there. So, and hopefully, like I say, at the moment he's at Havant and Waterlooville, and the product that he had at Sutton, he's trying to replicate it at Havant and Waterlooville, which I wish him all the best.
Yeah. Let's chat then about this the infamous FA Cup run. It was absolutely brilliant in Sutton's history. Give me some of your memories down through some of these fixtures. Obviously starting out with Forest Green and then on to Dartford, Cheltenham. The two matches against Wimbledon, I say, must have been amazing. And then on to Leeds and Arsenal, of course. Give us some memories from this cup run. It was incredible, really, for Sutton.
Well, to be fair, mate, honestly, we didn't expect to get past Forest Green because they were obviously at the time they were top of the league. The gaffer sent 3 or 4 players out on loan that played in the cup anyway, and we had the bare squad. But the lads, you just get on that roll. Obviously, Cheltenham, you had the managed man. He come up with a late winner, and it just went from there. And probably the best game, obviously, was the Dartford game, believe it or not. And it's just end-to-end football. And I think it was 6-3, something like that. It was crazy. We obviously played Wimbledon at home, local derby on the Saturday. Drew 0-0. And Keith Stroud was an old friend. He was the referee at that game, and probably could have had a penalty go to Wimbledon. But he's a top man, still involved in the game at the highest level. And it just, it was one of them. No, won a penalty, and then obviously we went there and they had a player sent off. They 1-0 up, and we beat them 3-1, and that was really it. And then I think Leeds at the time, they were literally going for get back in the Premier League, and obviously Monkey was manager, and Beats as assistant, and I think the goalkeeping coach as well, local lad at Southampton, and it just all fell into place. And obviously the skip went up, took a penalty, 1-0, and and probably from the ride from the Wimbledon game through, and it just the imagination from everyone, it was just unreal, and obviously it captured the world. But then you had Lincoln as well at the time. They were the same as us, and they were top of the league, and they had done fantastic. I think along the way they beat a few decent sides, and we could have literally, if we'd have beat Arsenal, we would have drawn them in the quarter final. So it was it was one of them.
Yeah, I believe on the Monday night or whatever it was up at the club during the draws and stuff like that, they tend to cover them live and stuff like that. Talk about your memories of the draws and the excitement there and the attention that it drew from the supporters and stuff like that. Must have been electric.
To be fair, no, it was like unreal, because along the way it was like we made a little bit of money out of it for the football club. It was called the Draw with Shaw. So I'd have a bit of memorabilia from the Saturday's game, or you know what I mean. And obviously the draw was always Monday evening after the first 2 or 3 rounds, and it just generated everything, and a bit of food, and people come in. We probably had 200-300 people in the bar on a Monday night. Normally you have one man and his dog, literally.
Yeah.
And it was unreal. It was fantastic, and the momentum got going, and then there was a match ball signed by the players and a shirt and everything else, and you just raffled it off, and it was like I say, again, you just try to make a few extra pounds for the football club, because in non-league that's what you need. Absolutely fantastic. So the draw with Shaw went down quite well.
Yeah, before we get into talking about the Arsenal game and the main event, as I call it, a lot of people talk about the romance of the FA Cup and all this kind of thing, and I found an image today. I hope you don't mind me showing it. That summed up to me the romance of the FA Cup. And you can comment on this and let me know what you think. This summed up to me the
I was looking slim
romance
there,
of
son.
the FA Cup. You were in, you were in the flip flops there, hoovering out the dugouts. Talk to me about this. I thought it was just such a brilliant image. Everyone talks, oh, the romance of the FA Cup, and they think everyone has money, and it's this great event and stuff like that. The reality is, for these lower level clubs and stuff like that, is it's a all hands on deck to prepare for these things. Talk
Mate, to
talk
be
to me about the image there and everything.
to be fair, mate, that was about 3:45. So I just put the goal nets up. Everything was sorted for the goals. Everything was, it's fine. And believe it or not, when you got a 3G pitch, everything had to be like spot on. So,
Yeah,
the bounce of the ball, it was, there was so much rigmarole we went through. It had to be FIFA qualified, and this was literally the away not the away dugout. So I was there, and obviously the night before, people were on the pitch. Obviously, they were training and stuff like that. So obviously, the right through the football club was from under nines, under eights, right the way through to the youth team. So, and then we had Sutton Common Rovers that ground shared, and the ladies football and the disability. So it was just getting it all right for when Hans Wenger come in. But Stevie Bold come in first, and a few, I mean, he said, what you're doing, that's just making everything tidy for you guys.
yeah, that must have got it. It must have been, yeah, especially Stevie Ball. I can imagine Stevie Ball's reaction going, really? Absolutely. Let's go back then. Let's talk about the Arsenal game. But the build up to that game was huge for you, wasn't it, as well? And I believe there was a lot of stress and pressure felt as well at that time and stuff like that. That kind of affected you slightly, didn't it?
To be fair, mate, obviously the draw was made on the Monday night, and live on the telly, and it like literally, Saturday United, the ball come out, and then obviously like number 6 where Arsenal, and it was just like the rafters went off the place. Like I say, it was a draw with draw, everything else, and everyone's like, wow. And it when you get drawn at home, obviously nowadays you can't swap the ground, or you can go to somewhere local, or it just. But I don't think people realise the magnitude and the size of the draw itself. With Arsenal, Arsenal had 750 tickets, and what was their gate, 50, 60,000.
Yeah,
It was crazy, mate. It's just I don't think the football club realised the magnitude, and what we just the beast it was, and obviously they went on and won it as well. But along the way, it was just absolutely massive for the football club, and for everyone involved. I just
yeah,
don't think they realised that the scope and the magnitude that you're under.
yeah. Talk to me about the game and how the game evolved and stuff like that, leading up to that famous image that's been called one of the most iconic FA Cup images off the field. That's how they refer
Yeah.
to it when I looked up and stuff like that. Talk to me about the build up and what happened and how you came about to having the pasty or the pie. Um,
to to be fair,
and
to be fair, mate, it was like one of the, Gringo Waste were our sponsors, and Malky Boyle, a lovely, lovely fella, and he said, Wayne, he said that we just literally we're a little company, and they paid £6,000 for the shirt sponsorship for the season, and along the way, bits and bobs, and obviously there was people falling over themselves just to try and just get their names on the shirts. And what he done for the football club was fantastic, because he said, look, I'll step aside. And I said to Mel, look, no, we're good friends, and we still are now. And I said, Mel, look, you put your money where your mouth is, and this is a situation. And he went, as long as I get something on the back of it. But along the way, he come to Wembley. We invited him. He come to Wembley, and I think some bets were the ones that come out on top with it. I think there was 3 people, and I think they paid about, I don't know, between 48 and 60 grand for the one game, on sponsorship wise. So Mel stood aside, and he done his best for the football club, and he's still a supporter himself, but. And that was the start of it, really, mate. That was literally the day or two after, and some bets got involved, and it just escalated, and obviously, you know, they wanted to do this for the football club, that for the football club, and yeah, they did. But along the way, I think I think they it was their own benefit. It was, you know, definitely not for the benefit of the football club, and you know, things that were going on. But it was just such a roller coaster, and our feet didn't touch the ground because you can imagine, like, we had to have new kit, we had to have sponsors on it, we had,
Yeah.
you know, tracksuits for the lads. Season ticket holders were queuing for, you know, probably about 8 hours just to get tickets, and it was great because we only had 5,000 tickets, and like I say, 750 had to go to Arsenal, and it was just unreal, mate. It was just absolutely crazy. It was a circus because obviously, you know, some bets then obviously took the sponsorship on. They had access all areas, and a few things went on that untoward. But you know, hey ho, you live and learn, and you know, it's a story that I can tell. But it was fantastic. You know, obviously Ian Wright going to the football club, and you know, all the lads come down from Arsenal. It was just unreal. It was what dreams are made of, really. And it just shame that it only happened for 90 minutes.
Yeah. Talk to me then about the pie. Let's get what they call the elephant in the room out here, the pie and all this, and how it came about. Because some people talk about this, and you know, to me, they talk about it like it's as if Barney Curley was pulling off a stroke on the horses, and he was emptying out every betting office north and south of the UK. And you can see, boy, you know, when you look into it then and you discuss like the ban and the fine and stuff like that, it's really so, I won't say minuscule, but you know what I mean, in terms of this, you know, in a teacup kind of thing, you know. To
Well, to be
give me
fair,
a bit of,
though, I
yeah,
can say that the FA were absolutely scandalous.
yeah,
You know, like I say, some bets got involved. They were a betting company, and you know, I don't think the FA help any person. You know, there's a lot of people out there with gambling issues, drinking issues. You know, along the way, drug abuse. But you know, at the end of the day, why get these people involved? And I can honestly say it now, mate. I look back and it's just like so fun. So you had some bets. So they had. I think there was a better market put on me.
yeah,
Would he eat a pie? Listen, I've had 32 years in my career. Who ate all the pies?
yeah,
Behind the goal, you fat bastard, you ate all the brilliant. I've had a bite of a pie. I've chucked it back. I've had Mars, but I've had everything thrown at me. And do you know what? 47 years old, FA Cup fifth round, live on the telly, have a bit of fun. All the subs went on, and it was just one of them. I went to the canteen and I went to the girl and I said, "Look, have you got any pie?" "No, I've got no pie." "Well, you can have a hot dog." You know, it's a pasty. So she gave me two pasties.
yeah,
I put one in the cupboard. I rolled one in my glove or my glove bag and in my towel. And I think it was the 82nd minute. All the subs went on. The Arsenal fans who ate all the pies, and I thought, you know what, let's have a little bit, and that was it. But unknown, not unknown to me, but obviously through the way, I knew that there was a market, and it was 8-1 to eat a pie live on the telly. Now there was a streaker run on the pitch, and that there was odds against him, but you had that 10-second where you couldn't see it. Um, yeah, but there was a streaker run on, and he obviously got chucked out the ground and banned and this, that, and the other. But the FA brought a charge against me. Literally, they done all their investigations. They run me through the honestly a little man, don't earn nothing, and they literally berated me for at least 2 months, and then 6 months later they brought a charge against me that wasn't even in the rule book. And
yeah,
and
I think,
they spent over £100,000 on the case, mate.
and I think in looking into it as well, the payout off the bet wasn't huge either. Off these whatever bets were laid on it, I
No,
think I
it's
read
like
something. It was like, was it less than, it was less than 4 grand anyway. It was about three
yeah,
and a
there
half
was
grand they paid out on
seven,
that.
seven,
That
seven,
that's
72 people placed a £5 novelty bet, 8-1. Who ate all the pies? 8-1. and they could tell you who placed the bet. They were like literally they could do whatever they want, and they paid out £2,600, mate.
Yeah, it kind of felt to me like it was like the Sutton fans were on such a roller coaster ride in this FA Cup thing, and up came this one. You know, is Wayne Shaw going to eat a pie live on telly, and we're going to give odds of 8-1. And it reminds me of sitting around the day before the Grand National, you know, with your kids, and you ask
Yeah,
them to pick a horse, and they
yeah.
pick the horse with the weirdest name, and they just throw a fiver on it or something like that, and you have a bit of fun and stuff like that. And I just thought, how
You
did it
run a
get to
lot.
this
You would have
point?
won a lot more with that horse than me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thinking like the gambling commission and everything and all. And I'm thinking this probably
Oh, mate,
paid out about 3 grand across 70 people. I've
one
never
for
heard
honestly,
anything like it. Like, you know, it
it's
was it
right.
was
Two thousand
crazy.
six hundred quid, mate. Honestly, and like I say, I was banged to right. I had the best. Don't get me wrong. I had John Ward Prowse, James's dad, James Ward Prowse dad. Um, honestly, Mrs. Pike, she dealt with a few things, Jane Pike, and the best of buddies. But to be fair, that they said to me, "Look, Wayne, um, this has been brought against you." I spent more time at the FA, mate, than Gareth Southgate. Honestly, I was more times at Wembley. It was unreal. But
How as you went through that process, how did you manage, I suppose, to keep a straight face? That's how, like, were you going in there on a regular basis laughing like that you couldn't believe this is like, you know, what is evolving here? Like, you know what I mean? As you
trouble
said, the
is, mate.
amount of money that was spent on it in the end, and like
No,
for this,
honestly, mate, it's that like what they say, 15 minutes of fame. I had paparazzi outside the door. I had the Mirror putting, well, we pay you 10 grand for your story. It was crazy from where I live. It's just a little town, but it was unreal because I looked at it. I thought I got a family. I'm on my own now. The
yeah,
football club, they never backed me. They thought gambling, everything else, but they were happy to take the plaudits and everyone at the time along the way. And I only done it for the football club, and it was never about me. It was always about the lads. You know what I mean? The lads got me there. I
yeah,
was just I'm just a reserve goalkeeper and goalkeeping coach. But I cared massively about the football club. I
yeah,
cared about community and disability, everything for me. That's
mm,
what counted, and that's what I think. Along the way, that's what football clubs and building strength and around it is all about. But for the FA to then bring a charge against me 6 months later, and then what they charged me with as well, intentionally influence the betting market. Well, don't take gamblers or the commission, the gambling people's money. Don't take Ladbrokes 10 million they're going to pay you. Don't come for me, a little man that's, Joey Barton. He could still go to work. I worked at Tottenham Football Club, fantastic little club where I live, and built a little reputation up there. And they banned me for 2 months from all working. That's wrong. Surely they can't do that. They're trying to, ban me from earning a living.
stop
I've
earning
never
your
earned
living. Yeah,
thousands of millions out the game. You know what I mean? I'm like literally, I'm a little man, and for what they spent, absolute arseholes, absolute arseholes, and whoever's in charge and all that, they got to be so embarrassed. Especially Spinner. Yusuf honestly their barrister, and he come to me and he said to me, "I'm working for the FA. I see what's going on." He says it's embarrassing, and we're all in. We got one room, or up there, 10 people in a room, and lit, me, John, and Jane were in the room. They had a room. Their barristers had a room, and then you had a committee in a room. So it's full, mate. I had £500 cost. It must have cost them 15 grand for that day, minimum.
yeah,
You know what I mean? I couldn't even eat. I was gutted.
yeah. And it's kind of mad as well because when you think about it, like I'd imagine normally when you get a gambling thing like that happening, I'd imagine the first bet was put on at 8-1. And I'd imagine the 72nd bet was put on at 8-1 as well, because it was just a fun market thing. It wasn't anything serious. I mean, you guys were up against Arsenal and stuff like that. Talk to me about, you finished up that night and you went home. And of course, I'm sure you must have decompressed and de-stressed as well, because it must have been such a stressful week with the build-up and everything else you had to go through. I'm sure there was media and all this kind of stuff. It was non-stop all week long.
Mate, I didn't have a day off for 3 weeks from that draw on the Monday
Mm,
night. I did not have a day off because I was like getting everything sorted for the lads, sorting everything out for the football club, and interviews. And obviously we still had football games in between. We were up north, and we'd go up, we'd travel up on Tuesday, stay
mm,
overnight on Tuesday, and come back Wednesday morning on a train and things. So
yeah,
literally it was manic, and I was trying to sort everything out, and it was crazy, crazy, crazy,
yeah,
up until the game. But like you say, on the night of the game, it was the press build a picture, and they can't wait to fire you down. And I'd never forget the family come up, my wife, my son-in-law, and a daughter. And it was like, I was trying to think, where you are, yeah, and obviously, Lineker, Shearer, and everyone in the box up, they were just below them. And obviously with Al and that, schoolboys together at Southampton, and it was, and after the game he went, "Fucking hell, what have you done?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He went, "Fucking hell, it's all kicking off." I said, "Nothing, mate. You know what I mean? To be fair, it's not." And he's like, "Fucking catch your beam," and like literally. We had our PR man, and he was like, "Oh, Good Morning Britain, want you to go in the morning?" And I said, "I'm going home." I said, "My wife's here, the family, and all that. I'm going out. I need a couple of days." And there was a flare come on the pitch, and obviously ruined the pitch. Yeah, and literally it was it was like, and I was like, right, and obviously they put me up in a hotel. The missus said, "No, carry on, and I'll see you tomorrow afternoon." And that was it. Yeah, I'm still in my training kit there, still in the
yeah.
top from the night before. So yeah, it was crazy. And then obviously from there on, it just all kicked on from that. And by 3 o'clock that afternoon, I've had to resign. Not that I wanted to, but yeah, I had to resign from the football club, and that was me done.
Yeah, it's such an interesting one, because I was going to ask you, you kind of beat me to it in explaining it, but I was sort of thinking, the match finished, you finished up everything you had to do with Arsenal. Of course, I'm sure I heard the story that you had told about Arsenal giving you the jerseys and stuff like that, and they dropped in all the jerseys to divvy them up and all that kind of stuff, which must have been
Yeah,
excellent, and they were absolute gentlemen and stuff like that. So I was kind of thinking, then that all gets done, you have a few beers, you celebrate, listen, we had a great run, lads. You go home, put your head on the pillow, you go to sleep, you wake up the next morning, and Wayne Shaw's world is a very different world. What has
mate.
happened?
Mate, to be fair, I got literally. Obviously, I stayed behind. There was obviously when the people come onto the football pitch, they were swinging on the goal posts and all that. I'm getting people off the pitch. I didn't go into the changing room. To be fair, mate, it was just like literally. Theo Walcott, he brought the shirts in and said, "There you go, boys.
Mm,
Share them out." And like I say, access all areas. I don't think people knew who were actually going in the change room. Like I said, when I said some bets had access all areas, it was one of them. And there
mm.
was a few things that went missing, and I ain't going to say no more. But yeah, it was literally. Um, I got whisked away probably about 11 o'clock that night in a taxi, and they took me to Wimbledon and put me up in a hotel, and all I heard was ping, 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 ping on my phone. I didn't think no more of it. I was, what I mean, you're still in the mode and thinking what's gone on and reliving what's gone on in the game and that. And I think I went from about 2,000 followers on Twitter, or 150, to about. 150 followers to about 20,000 overnight. It was just crazy.
Yeah, I read some of the articles about it, and it was interesting. I looked at sports Joe or one of these and stuff like that, and they did different sort of concepts where they said that you eating the pie live on TV at this point was exactly what football needed, exactly what football needed, and stuff like that. And then they inserted your image eating the pie into a number of different movie scenes, huge movie scenes, stuff like that. And I just thought some of them were hilarious. You know what I mean? What
Uh,
what what, what was it like on Good Morning Britain with this guy? Because I know this guy can kind of. start out as being your best mate with an arm around you and
Oh,
stuff like
tell me
that,
about it. Yeah,
and
yeah,
then cut you in two halfway through with stuff you never thought was going to come up. What was the Good Morning Britain interview
To
like
be
with
fair,
this guy?
mate, they were all brilliant on giving. Yeah, they were superb, and
Yeah.
to be fair, they looked out for me. And literally a month or 6-8 weeks after, he we want you back on. We want you to get a job. You know what I mean? It was but whether they took you down or not, But Piers is quality. He's just he says what he sees, and that's what they're all about, aren't they? And but there were some great people behind the scenes there as well, and everyone.
Yeah.
It was and it was great going back. Probably 2 months later,
Mm.
and
How
the
how
producers like Piers thinks the world of you. He wants you to come back on again. He wants, and I said,
so how long did it take before it kind of calm down, in terms of where to kind of decompress down a little bit? I'm sure you still walk around and people still go, oh, there's Wayne, there's that guy, and they remember for that and stuff like that. So it's hard to get away from it and stuff like that. But when did it
yeah.
calm down to the point where it was kind of manageable, let's say?
Well, to be fair, like you say, manageable. It's been it's been crazy, but I would have probably said a couple of years after. To be fair, because I think I was out on my own. I had to try and earn, pay the mortgage and everything else. So I
Yeah.
probably earned a year's salary, which along the way is about 30 grand in 4 months or 3 months. So I'd done eating challenges. I'd done everything that I could do just to support the family, and then made the decision that I'm going to work at a local football club. I can offer this, I can offer that, and that's the route I took. Again, I've never been involved with football. I think when you tarnish with that brush, I had a lot to offer. I still think I could, but the body wouldn't let me now. But that was me done, because you're on the end of a gambling, or you've done something wrong, and it wasn't like that.
Yeah. How did you feel? I mean, how do you feel now about football itself, the sport of football? Did it kind of sour you a little bit towards it, or do you
Yeah.
still, your love for football is still as strong or
Nah,
different?
football was my life, and no matter what, I worked 7 days a week at a family business and played football Tuesday, Thursday night, and Saturdays, and I worked around football. Football didn't work around me, and nah, to be fair, mate, after that, and with the club and everything else that went on, and the people around, you find your true friends. And I never had no support from any of them. So, as far as I'm concerned, I had a few people that I've kept along with along the way that, they offered me a position at Tottenham Football Club to go back in there. Eastleigh have been brilliant. And I got to say, you know, when Cookie, manager, he was at Portsmouth, come on down Wayne, and fair play to him, and he obviously went on to Ipswich and stuff like that. But yeah, the real football people knew what it was about, and they smothered me a little bit and give me that love, but no, I lost my appetite for it all, mate. Football's never been the same for me, and it never will be now.
Yeah. I have to touch again on. I wanted to finish up talking to you again about goalkeeping, because I do be fascinated by goalkeeping. And I've one other thing. We spoke to our members group as well, and we asked our members group if they had a question to ask you, what would they ask you? So we'll finish on that one, obviously. But in terms of goalkeeping coaching, what do you look for, or what did you look for in a player, and say, that guy has what it takes potentially to be a goalkeeper? What would you say are the key things you're looking for?
I was lucky enough to work with the best goalkeepers around at the time. With who the manager brought in. So for me, it's just building that understanding, and building a bond and a friendship with them, and along the way, and that's what it's always been about for me. And like I say, I was lucky enough to work with the best in the business. So yeah, what I'm looking for in a keeper now, it's same as anyone would be looking for, mate. Obviously, can they play? Can they pass out with their feet? You got to be, I think a goalkeeper now has more touches than an outfield player. starting things off, and and again, like I said earlier on, you got that number on your back as number one. You got one chance of saving it. So along the way, it's what you bring to the game. What can you bring to it? And yeah, I think it's one of them positions that's always been neglected, really. But now you've got like the goalkeeping coaches. Look at referees now. Referees, they've got assessors, they've got coaches, they've got entourage. There's 8 of them walk into a change room when normally it should only be 3. So, same with outfield players. You've got a striking coach, you've got a defenders coach, you've got the coach, you've got the manager. So yeah, I think along the way, goalkeeper is a specialised subject, and we all stick together.
Yeah. The question that I said our members kept on coming up with, and it was a very similar question, sometimes worded in a different way. If you could go back, would you do it again? I'm sure you're asked it a million times, and I kind of said to them before preempting your answer. I kind of said it was kind of more like a kickback to all these guys that slagged him about his weight and eating pies than anything else. So if he was probably back in that moment again, I think he'd probably do it again, because I don't think you were probably aware of what the fallout was going to be. So
No,
that was my answer. Give me your answer.
Yeah, your answer would have been right, but yeah, would I do it? No, I wouldn't, because of the football club and the, I wouldn't say the negativity around it, but yeah, it didn't look, it wasn't professional. It wasn't professional for the manager, the assistant manager, and the football club itself, because when you're at that level, you're Vanarama National. It probably wouldn't have been the scene to do, but if I was a league or 2 below, yeah, fuck it, I would.
Excellent, great answer, super answer. Well, listen, let our viewers, listeners, and subscribers know where do they find you if they want to hit you up on social media and stuff like that. or maybe you don't want them to.
The old roly poly goalie, that's me.
Brilliant. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure chatting to you and looking back at it and stuff like that. I have to say, it's, for me, it was crazy to see it. I can't imagine what the stress of that cup run was like for you and stuff like that and all. And I'd imagine the reaction and the pie and all was kind of like, it was kind of like a sense of relief and letting down the guard and everything beforehand that had gone before it and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm such a big guy in terms of the romance of the cup and stuff like that and all. But little do people know the groundwork and everything that goes in for these clubs and stuff like that to get to that point, to make it look that way. And then, of course, I can't imagine what it was like then, having to deal with, being thrust into that spotlight and Good Morning Britain and all this kind of stuff you have to do, and all. It must have been absolutely crazy. But listen, absolute pleasure having you on. Thanks very much for taking the time to come on. And no doubt we'll get some more questions on. If we do, sure, I'll shoot them over to you on email, and we'll have a bit of crack about
no one died in the process. No, that's what I say.
Absolutely. Absolute boss. Appreciate it, Wayne. Cheers, my man.
Top man. See you, mate. Bye, pal.